Tiger. We got all these emergency, we have this entire emergency leadership and none of them have theirs. We threw you under the bus first. I feel badly about that.
Keep me on your toes, John.
Oh my goodness. Hey, Michael. Hey, Bob.
Hey, how's it going, Todd?
All right. Let's call our meeting to order, please. Chris, will you do the roll?
Deanna Carlson.
Here.
Javieri.
Here.
Michael Chen.
Here.
Chris Labrise is here. Victor Alvarez.
Here.
Maria Weingarten.
Here.
Bob Hamill.
Here.
James Yao.
Here.
Nick Matrakis. Jan Schaefer.
Here.
Steve Doka. Has Alan been?
No,
Not yet. All right, so everybody's here.
Okay. And I need a motion for 2 minutes, if I could, for the 11th and the 13th of February to approve those. Or any edits or comments? Not any motion, Victor. Oh, Victor, Victor, second? Second, Nick?
No.
Maria looked at me, but Nick raised his hand. It was very complicated. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
None. Okay. Okay, thank you all for coming. We
You
have,
approved both at the same time?
we did.
All right,
we
thank
did.
you.
I know you like it that way. We have quite a bit to go through tonight. Just one housekeeping item. We did have a meeting with Moody's last week, and I thought it went well, but do you want to give a little update?
Yeah, I agree. I think it went well. We'll find out the results of the meeting sometime this week. So we're waiting anxiously with the. Oh. All right.
We know that right now?
Okay, so they're all done
When did you got that
AAA.
today, this afternoon?
just now.
That's why we have these meetings.
So we can keep
Well,
up.
well done. All right. We can keep it AAA.
Yes, we didn't say anything.
Now we know it went really well.
I did really well.
You know, it was a very good discussion in all seriousness, and I thought the dialogue was very helpful. I will say, and we have to take this seriously in May, they really want us to take our general fund, our unassigned fund. They want to keep it climbing a little bit, and so you know, we got it in the low end of our range. I think they'd like to see it a little higher. Although he did make some comparisons. In one town, he said 40% of their revenue came from sales tax. Was it that high? Or maybe more? Some town, not in Connecticut because of the property tax, but some other town that he is an analyst on, a very significant percentage of their revenues came from sales tax. So when you have a little bit of a downturn and people don't shop, you know, whoa, how do you manage that? I mean, that's a tough, so they have a huge reserve. You know, you can imagine, right? A general fund because of that as a cushion. Well, we don't have that. That's not the kind of the world we live in. So, so anyway, Anne, congratulations. You did a great job with the deck and the presentation and the story. That was terrific. So, okay. Okay, with that, we will start with, we have EMS. Welcome.
So
Yes.
Before they start, I just have to say, I had the great privilege to be at the commission's, this is a board meeting, this was a board meeting, to present the EMS with a proclamation honoring their 50 years of service. Last Tuesday was actually the official 50th anniversary, but everybody was on vacation, so I came today.
Wow.
So we're really blessed to have such a great group of individuals serving our
Tremendous.
community. So thank you.
Thank you.
And volunteers,
Yeah.
all but
let's
one,
not forget.
all volunteers.
Exactly.
So thank you.
Okay, let's see, you're not going to share the slides? Okay, okay, yep.
Well, Deanna stole my opening
Oh,
comment.
sorry. Sorry.
Wow. So in conclusion,
I'm Alec Montgomery. I'm the president of New Canaan EMS, and this is John, our treasurer. And my job's pretty easy today. I'm going to turn it over to John. Well, okay, I will point out the highlights for 2024 to reinforce Deanna's comments. We're an all-volunteer organization. We responded to about 1,800 calls for about 1,850 patients last year. We have more than 50 volunteer members who provided 28,000 plus on-duty volunteer hours, providing 24/7 coverage of EMS for the town. And then in addition to that, we have a variety of training, continuing education, community outreach programs, and hours of members responding from home for backup calls that aren't in that 28,000 number. So a lot of people who all enjoy the privilege of serving the town.
And 4 high schoolers I saw tonight. I don't know if there were more than that, but there were 4 high schoolers
Yeah.
at that meeting. So in addition to, adult volunteers, you guys are,
Get some great high schoolers, fantastic members. That is the one area we're a little constrained because we actually have them writing weeknights during their school week. And there are only 4 weeknights.
commitment.
And it's a huge commitment, but they're terrific. And it's great to be sitting there working alongside younger people when you're more our age.
My son did it, and while he was in high school, I think it's a fabulous program. It actually gives the kids, opportunity to, exercise responsibility, and it's quasi like military service, right? Showing up for your shifts and like pretty good. I mean, it's at that level. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
You were able to do things for my son that I don't think we were able to do at home.
We expect, they have to perform just as well as any other adult member of the Corps, because at the end of the day, it's about the patient care, and there's nothing, you can't fake it. So thank you. I'll turn it over to John.
Sure. Most of our budget is fixed by the town in terms of the building and the utilities. The items that we sort of have, one is the paramedic contract. It's a 5-year contract and it's a fixed sum, $465,000 per year. We're in the 3rd year. This would be the 4th year of the contract. So there's no change in the cost of that contract. And then we receive a partial contribution toward our medical supplies and equipment and vehicle repairs and maintenance. In each of those cases, we asked for a 3% increase from last year's amount. That's the $10,285 for the vehicle, or $95 for the vehicle repairs and maintenance, and the medical supplies and equipment at $58,342. And then the information services, that's our dispatching, that's our contract with Southwest Regional Communications Center, and they provide both dispatching and patching services. We're part of a region, and so they come up with their cost for the year, and then based on census data, they allocate it among all of the participating towns. So the amount here is that the allocation for New Canaan for the next fiscal year at $24,495. So it's a slight increase from last year, but it's consistent with sort of a 3% increase in the costs. And so those are sort of the numbers for us. On the capital plan, we've been having discussions with the town over the past sort of 6 months or a year because there was significant delay in the delivery of new ambulances, where it used to be sort of an 18-month process, stretched out to be 3.5 years. So we have one ambulance, which as part of the 23-24 cycle, we had contracted for, and that ambulance we're hoping now to get maybe by the end of December, finally. So what we did as part of this year's budgeting process is that we rotate the ambulances on sort of we have 3 ambulances and they're staggered so that we're sort of replacing one every 3 years, so that they have a 9-year life. And so we moved up the budgeting for our next 2 ambulances, one from 26-27 to 25-26, and one from 29-30 to 28-29, because we know that there's an extra sort of year and a half lead time in terms of purchasing those ambulances. And also the cost has gone up significantly from the one that we purchased in 23-24. So far, we've been assured that in terms of delivery of the ambulance that we contracted for in 23-24, that the price should be consistent with what the contract price was, no change, even though there are opportunities for them to increase it, but there's been an increase. So we're going to be going out to bid for the next ambulance, and at least the preliminary quotes we got were in the range of the 390,000. Do you have anything to add to that?
No,
Okay.
no.
That's what we have on offer.
Questions on the ambulance. Do we put half up front? What do we do to secure it?
We don't pay anything up front. It's all
Okay.
payable upon delivery.
Okay.
And so the process, as I understand it, is the town bonds the ambulance,
Yeah.
the amount, so we can sign the purchase order, or the town can.
We
sign the
approve it.
purchase order.
So that you can order it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we'll have the money when we need it.
Yep.
3 years from now? 2 years from now?
Well, they say the lead time is coming back down. I mean, it was less than 12 months before the
Before COVID.
pandemic.
Right. That's
And
right.
then it went as far as 3 years, and now it's sort of inching back slowly.
It was less than 12 months and it had a 2 in front of it, not a 3 in front of it, right?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was 200 and
Yeah, yeah,
something,
yeah.
not
It
300.
was a low two.
Now it's looking almost knocking
It's a
on
high
4.
two, then it was a high two, and now it's a high three.
And my other question is the paramedic service contract, this is 4-year or 5-year?
It's a 5-year.
So this is
contract.
4? This is year 4?
This is for year 4, yes, the contract.
4. So next year, okay. All right, will be okay. Last year.
I count 3, but
Well, this is 4, I'm saying, the year we're talking about. The budget year is the
budget
4th.
year,
Maybe-
Not this year, budget.
So
year.
it may be, all right, you may be right, maybe year 3, because
So the budget year that we're looking at is
No,
year 3 of the
I don't-
5-year
I'm
contract? Yes, we're getting a yes from finance.
24 is
Yes.
1, 25 is 2, 26 is 3. So, okay, so we have a little bit left on that one. Okay, good. Other questions? Anybody? Michael or Bob?
No questions. Thank you.
Do you need anything else? We always ask.
no, I think should be all set.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You've got you're going to share your presentation? Yeah, great. Thank you.
2 seconds so I can join the Zoom meeting. If I don't do it when I'm sitting here, the machine times out and then I get logged out of Zoom. So, and while I'm waiting for this to load up, I just wanted to share the congratulations for New Canaan EMS. My father was a founding member in 1975. I rode for a number of years myself, and it's just extraordinary what they do for our community. It really is amazing. Almost there. Tucker, I should be appearing imminently. There I am. Louis, thank you. Thank you. And sharing. All right. And full screen. Oh my goodness, Zoom just keeps adding more and more pop-ups every version of the software. It's amazing. All right. Why are we not full screen? Slideshow. Remember that.
That's it.
So I'm Russ Kimes, Emergency Management Director for the town of New Canaan. Thank you all for letting me join you this evening. For those who are not aware, emergency management's mission is to protect lives and property of the citizens of New Canaan. A big core focus of my responsibilities is planning and leading and partnering training for all hazards that may face our municipality, and also collecting and disseminating emergency information, as well as running our emergency operations center and large scale events as the right hand for our first selectman who would be leading our town's disaster response. So over the last year, come Major accomplishments for the year. We have, as you probably are aware, enhanced our town public communications through use of an existing platform. So Deanna was looking to start her newsletter, her first selectman's newsletter, and I posited the possibility of leveraging an existing tool that we use for our emergencies that we're already paying for to not only do the newsletter, but to broaden all departments' capabilities and communications and transparency with the town, basically at no additional cost other than what we're currently paying for with the contract. And it's been a great success. We have somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,000 individuals signed up out of 7,000 homes, which is great participation. We continue to push that. Signing up to this day. And you've probably seen the notifications from everything from not only myself, anyone who signs up for any of the buckets, I get the emergency list. So I get to win for no matter who signs up for anything, which is a big part of it, but also Public Works, the police department, the fire department, the fire marshal's office, the health department are all now self-sufficient and providing that level of transparency and communication. The leader in the most number of communications is our friend Tiger in the back. I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 70 or so, but it's great because we've had a lot of positive feedback from residents saying, oh, wow, I didn't drive through a road that was being paved, or I'm now aware of much more with the municipal government and the things that are going on here in town hall and across the department. So that was a big success. And for those who may be watching this, we encourage you to sign up at newcanaanalerts.gov. So we had significant events and responses for the year. We had the August 2024 flooding and then the subsequent efforts after that for rebuilding. And also in particular, I have the responsibility for working with FEMA and the state of Connecticut for what they call public assistance grants, which is us getting money back from presidentially declared disasters, which this was, which we're optimistic will be north of $100,000 in recovered, whether it's the overtime across police, fire, Public Works, the repairs to the roads, things like that. So big shout out to the department heads, because I think they're tired of hearing from me asking for latitude and longitude of every trail at Waveney Park, but we're making good progress there. A lot of folks don't know, but we did a ton of work for the presidential elections 2024. Obviously concerned that any number of things could happen, from white powder scares to protests or whatever. And it was not only our town, but a regional effort, as well as our partnership with the Fairfield County Hazardous Materials team. I led a large tabletop discussion here with all the department heads, as well as the town clerk and the registrars. Even gave them radios for communication, so that, heaven forbid, we lost cell towers or things like that, those polling sites would be able to communicate back to town hall and to the registrar and clerk. We had the brush fire danger in October. We had the 911 system issues in October 24. Yes, we had an earthquake in April 2024, which I was happy to say that I was able to get on the horn with the U.S. Geological Survey and get word out to the residents that no, they weren't losing their minds, that there was an earthquake within, I think, about 12 minutes of when it had happened. We had the heat wave and, of course, the extreme winds. And most recently, I'm sorry I bothered you all again on Monday, we had winds and power outages again, and worked on Monday, as usual, with our partners at Eversource to get the town back online. As I said, OEM's primary, one of the biggest missions is the either hosting or me leading training. And the big accomplishments this year was school reunification training. I'm very, very happy to say that we, I think, are really leading the charge, at least in the state, probably nationally, in having a public-private partnership between our public schools and private schools. For heaven forbid that they need to do a reunification event, if they were to have to relocate for whatever reason, be it an active threat or whatever, hazardous materials. We have a site in town that has agreed to be a site away from the schools. And we actually ran a training exercise with the public and private schools and have an MOU in place with them. We did active shooter hostile event training for our first responders. So you may remember last year, I came for body armor for EMS and fire. Now we have done the training for that and are looking to do that at a regular cadence with our first responders. I myself have been certified as an instructor for the FEMA National Emergency Management Academy, which is to say that's the course for emergency managers, so that I am myself an instructor. And then as a chief will say, and I don't want to steal any of his thunder, I've completed fire investigator and have completed fire code inspector, and will be working also in the fire marshal's office as a fire code inspector. So trying to leverage my 26 years of fire experience in new ways in the town. We did the governor's emergency planning exercise. We did a mass casualty incident train derailment exercise that I led with the Fairfield County communications team, as well as our first responders and Metro North. And then we also hosted in risk reduction. I brought in the state of Connecticut to do a traffic incident safety course for police, EMS, CERT, Public Works, and PD, because I hate to say it, roads are probably are the most dangerous place that we operate on a regular basis. Unfortunately, I mean, we see there are 30 highway fatalities already this year in the state of Connecticut. So here's some pictures of the event. So this is the tactical emergency casualty care course with police, fire. We had representatives from state police and as well as federal agencies that participated in the training. Some more pictures of that same activity, learning casualty care as well as proper tactics and things like that across the various departments, because no one department handles those. A lot of marketing and communications for the New Canaan Alerts, which has been a great success for us in partnership with all the first responder agencies. This is in the governor's emergency preparedness exercise, and you see every one of the things that emergency management does touches all of our departments. So here you see representation from our health department, our EMS, our CERT team, our registrars. That's one of the big things about emergency management, is that it's not one vertical. We're the ones that bring everyone together to have a whole town response and planning. This is the Metro North exercise with Metro North's fire chief as well. So diving right into the operating request, year over year, the request is down 22%. A large portion of that, of course, is my salary, which is partially being picked up in the fire marshal's office as I am helping over there. And then basically every line is down from the operating side. I'll just go through very quickly. Training is down 3,000. The reason being, I've had a lot of success getting free training through the federal government. Most everything you've seen so far on those, except for the reunification, I've been able to secure either through FEMA grants, federal grants, or state programs. So in essence, bringing that line down. We are bringing up meals and events, and the reason is it's a request from finance. So bringing down our training, and I've been asked that when I buy food, which is probably the biggest enabler of getting people, in particular our volunteers, to go to courses, to be able to supply food for those events. Plus, if we have things like the power outage, we're standing up a EOC to be able to feed the folks that are working there. Supplies general is down 200 from 700 because I just most recently reprinted our emergency operation plan, so we're good on supplies. Voice and data is down 500. The reason for that is we no longer have a deputy director of emergency management, so we'll get rid of that cell phone. Uniforms and equipment is down. That was CERT was receiving 3,500 a year. We brought it down. CERT is okay with that. They've had a great year for recruitment, and I was also able to get their usual. We were able to get them supplies and backpacks for their course through the state grants, so they were good with that. And equipment emergency is down 3,000. We were able to purchase this year, which just arrived, all the computers to replace the compute tech in the EOC, the 6 computers for that. So I feel comfortable going into the new year with that amount. The big one is service contracts. Just to explain what that is, service contracts is made up of Everbridge, which is about $8,000 a year, as well as the other big one in that is our participation in the regional UASI. It's called UASI, your Urban Area Safety Initiative radio system. So basically, it's a radio system that all 11 municipalities of what we call Region 1 pay their share of, and about 8,000 of that is our share. And we actually are leveraging it much more regularly. And actually, thank you to the radios that you have allowed myself and fire to purchase in the last budget, 2 budget cycles. It gave our responders and chiefs access to those bands, increasing our capabilities and also interoperability. Pausing on operating if there are any questions.
Any questions on operating?
So on the salaries line, that's because your salary is being shared over other departments, is that?
The fire, because I'll be working part-time is in the fire marshal's office. So I remain the emergency management director, but a day or two a week, I'll be helping Paul and the team down there. Today actually was the day, so I did the quick change out of uniform and into suit and tie for tonight.
Great. And were you or not a paid fireman last year? No.
I've been volunteer for 26, going on 27 years as the
that's
assistant
what's on
chief, but as volunteer.
I see. Okay, thank
A
you.
lot of hats that.
Well, thank you for, I mean, watching every line item here. I mean, this may be the only one where everything went down. Although,
Except food.
we haven't seen. So maybe there's an updated version. I'm just asking.
I think we said it originally, and, and partnering with Deanna as well on this, is that originally when I started this full time, I said the goal was to get us to a good place and then be able to just sustain, right? So I think we're there.
Very good.
The only thing in capital, so I actually had in the 5-year capital plan, 3 more of the all band radios. Given the ones that we've purchased, we've received them in-house, plus the ones from the last capital year, I'm good with it. I feel we're good with what we have. We don't need any more with an OEM. So I removed it. That's out. So the only item in there is the Motorola hardware and software update agreement. And for those who are not aware, we own our own public safety radio system. And therefore it requires software and hardware to be up to date in order for it to work. And the way Motorola works is they do a 5-year contract. This upcoming year would be year 5 of 5. So the 5 out years, when you look at the 5-year capital plan, are my best guess, which is actually, I think, a bit high. I think I just took what they had previously with the 5-year and threw a 10% on top of it, just to be safe. And then obviously I'll be beginning the discussions with Motorola to figure out what the next 5-year plan looks like. Right now, I would love to see us move to the state radio system and get rid of our system and move, as all of our neighbors have done. However, we spent a lot of money in 2019-18 refreshing our infrastructure, and it doesn't make sense right now for us to have to spend the money to replace all the radios to go to the state system. The all bands that we purchased over the past couple of years have made sure that our leadership team and then also our line firefighters have the ability to do the communication with our neighbors that are around us. So that positioned us well that when the time is right, we should move to this system, but we can wait, and now's not that time.
When is that? What's the trigger for that?
I'm trying to get Westcog to help me, and I haven't had much success to find if there's grant money out there, although I have a feeling, obviously, with the current climate that grant money is going to be much harder to find over the next couple of years. Because at the end of the day, the way it works is, not to get totally techie and nerdy, even though I am one admittedly, is all of our radios are what are all called the VHF band. And then the state stuff is on UHF 700, 800, which means that all the radios on the police trucks, fire trucks, the DPW and CERT don't work on the UHF spectrum. So you have to replace about 300 radios. That's the big cost. Yeah,
So we can talk to the others?
right now with just the ones that we purchased, the all bands that we purchased. So it's a small subset. We have 10 of them right now, and we'll end up with 13 once I get this last bit. Which at least means that your leadership team, the chiefs, will have access to it, and EMS is getting some as well. So at least your leaders, which, to be honest with you, at the high level in a major incident, that's who you want talking across the different groups. And then I think we should absolutely pursue it for a number of other safety and long-term cost savings, that we should pursue the Connecticut state system, but it's a big capital outlay that I'm
But
not
is there a
comfortable.
trigger? My point is it a end of life or useful life for the ones that we've got at some point is 4 years from now or 6 years from now? I'm making it up. I mean, was there some
Well,
obvious
what's gonna happen is at some point, because Motorola being
monopoly?
well, we're seeing Kenwood come in, and actually Kenwood is becoming more favored by a lot of agencies, particularly out in Eastern
Okay.
Connecticut. And their prices are substantially better.
Okay.
So what's gonna happen is all the radios that we have at some point are gonna get end of life, because
Right.
Motorola is gonna want to have you stop using the 6000s and buy the 7000s or whatever the new version. So right now we've got several years. Last I've heard 2 or 3 years before that window starts to happen, and then we can't get parts to fix them. Which I think works out with another 5-year contract, and then we can
That's my
make that
question.
switch.
Okay.
That's my hope.
Why the jump in 26, 27 by 70,000 off the average?
That's because we're starting a new contract with Motorola, and it is literally I put, I think, 10 or 12% more than basically I took the 5-year contract that we're coming through and just plopped it into the 5-year capital and bumped it up by 10%, because I have no estimate. I have no guess. They have not provided me any information to know. So I actually expect that the 26, 27 will be less, because it'll be more flat of a curve across those 5 years. The reason our first year of our current 5-year contract was higher was we were basically paying a catch up. We bought the radio and we only paid $40,000 for 24-hour on-call support and not the actual hardware and software updates. So Motorola hit us with hey, you got to catch up. So that's why the first year of the 5-year contract, which is why I just copied and pasted, increased it. That first year of the 26, 27 is higher. I expect it will be lower than that, and you'll see the rest of the years will actually come up a bit, because it'll flatten. but I have no hard data, so this was a best guess.
Any questions for Russ? Nope. Michael?
Nope. No
You
question.
good? Okay. Nice job. Great.
Yep.
I appreciate it and thank you for everything you all do.
Thank you. And you have everything you need.
Yeah, I am good to go.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll hide over here.
Put your assistant chief hat on.
Yeah, I'll change my uniform.
Just to, didn't want to jump in on Russ, but everyone could talk to us when they come into town. So that's a good thing with the radios. We had the issue when we were going out. That's why we had to purchase
Right.
over the last 2 years. So they still can talk to us in town.
Do the Kenwoods have all bands?
They
Yep.
do,
Okay.
they do.
Cheaper
they're
and better.
Substantively cheaper,
Yeah.
6,000
Okay.
versus 10,000
Interesting.
thereabouts.
Yeah, well, Okay.
That's a nice.
Dennis and all bands.
Not me,
So-
Share.
And we tested them out. We actually got some, Albie and I got some to test them out and was positive reception. So now I'm talking with the state guys to see how they feel about it because it's connecting to a Motorola network. But they seem to be pushing people to say it's a better gig. I'm happy to see, not that I don't own stock of Motorola, but they just keep raising their prices every year.
All right, good evening, everybody. So the fire department budget for FY '26. Our goals and objectives, we continue to be pro public education, so getting out in front and doing a lot of events throughout the town, really getting the word out there to be safe. So that's been a ongoing not a challenge, but a ongoing project for us. So that's been going on. We keep working with our records management system that we invested in 2 years now. So helping maintaining apparatus, our pre-planning and so on as we continue with that. We implemented an online learning management program, which actually is helping more on the volunteer side of keeping the hours, the training hours up for the volunteer members who don't get as much exposure as the career side does. But we're also using it on the career side to preload some of that training. We're doing our own videos and putting them on that platform so they can see it. And then once we are hands-on, go out and do it. 9 new volunteer firefighters in calendar year, calendar year 24. And currently we're doing our own Fire One class. 5 already completed Fire One. And we have 9 of those firefighters in Fire One in-house now. It's something we haven't done in a while, which is a good thing for the career and volunteer, both working together to make firefighters. Our numbers for last year, so pretty busy year. We were about 100 calls more than the year before. 1237, still 50% are fire alarms. I won't call them false alarms, but people have well-protected houses and we get there early when there's an event. So that's a good thing to continue maintaining residential alarms. Our property loss last year was a little high, unfortunately, 600,000 in property and contents losses. We had, the numbers will come up for the fires in a second. Of the incidents that we did respond to, that was $71 million in tax, building assessed tax, if I said it right. So it's the building, that's the value of all the buildings we responded to that actually had an incident, not the entire 1,200 calls, but these are just the ones that had significant issues, whether it was electrical fire, cooking fire, and so on. So where do those two numbers came from? 27, what we call coded fire. That's what the National United States Fire Administration asked for. So 27 of those were true, some type of fire, whether it was an outside, whether it was a building fire, which you could see 18 of those actually involved buildings here in town. And only 12 of those accounted for the $600,000 loss. So that was that's the breakdown, and that's from our meeting a couple weeks ago. Those were the numbers where the 71 million and the 600,000 derived from.
What is good intent?
A good intent.
Service call and a false.
Call could be, somebody saw a puff of smoke come up from somebody's house, happened to be a dryer vent turning on early in the morning, and they happen to be looking out their window with their cup of coffee and called the fire department and saw smoke coming from the house. That gets the national reporting system. They'll say, okay, chalk that one up as a good intent call. Nice neighbor did what they were supposed to do, called 911. And that's how we would code it. So, I mean, that's, hazardous condition could be a flooding issue in a house. Service call would be a battery change in a smoke detector and so on. So that's how it breaks down. And there's a national standard for all those numbers.
How about CO2 calls?
Carbon monoxide calls it could get coded for a few things. If it's a malfunctioning detector, it would show up in that 51% of alarms. A real CO call would show up in the hazardous condition. Usually that's where, when we have actual numbers, that there was CO in the house, it'll show in hazardous condition.
Okay, thanks.
You are welcome. Moving on to this year, continue to work on national standards. We're still working on our pre-planning of commercial occupancies. We're leveraging our records management system, which you can see down in the bottom right-hand corner. That happens to be Waveney House. That's what our firefighters see when they are responding to a call. The address will trigger this to open for the address, and all our pre-planned information's in there. So what we captured, I don't want to say all of it, what we captured is in there, and they can review that on the way to the incident so they know what's going on. We are leveraging this, and this morning I just went to Board of Selectmen. We're adding one more module, which is called Community Connect, onto this records management system, which is going to allow our businesses and our residents to go into their own portal and put their own information in if needed. So specific people to call if there was an incident at their house, if they have a gate key, a gate code to get in, so they can actually put that on there themselves, and hopefully we'll educate them that it'll be secure, that they don't have anything to worry about. No one's going to get into the system to get into a key gate or something like that to get in. So good things could come of that. And in our commercial district, that'll help us with our pre-planning. So if we could get basic information that we don't have to go to the facility to ask, and they can change their key holders and they can change their information on there themselves on an annual basis, which is hopefully where we want to get to. Continue to work on health and safety things with our firefighters, especially cancer still in the legislative. A lot of laws got passed last year for the cancer. Always trying to improve our water infrastructure. We're at different ways that we're operating with that. Still trying to work with Highway to get some ideas together for static water sources and looking at our responses with tankers throughout the area with different departments. And can increase our special rescue capabilities, which you can see our Swift Water, which unfortunately we've been getting more of those types of calls with the heavy rains that we had over the last couple of years. So specific suits, helmets, and so on, and the training to go with that. So that's what we did. That's what we're planning to do. How do we get there? The budget request for this year is $4,735,578. I put the major drivers here, which is our overtime, which is about 91% of the budget. Our full-time salaries, as Assistant Chief already alluded to, his 25% of his salary came over into our full-time line. For next fiscal year, we have 24 full-time firefighters. We're heavy right now, waiting for a couple retirements. It also reflects a 2% contract increase for negotiations. We were asked to put it into our line item to be a little more transparent of the potential increases with the contract coming up for starting in July 1 of 25. So that's the full time. And you can see that we had a couple reductions, hopefully, compared to what we had asked for in the past based on some changes. We don't have the extra person. We're full staff this year coming in, so that should reduce our overtime's other line by about 50% and go back to what it should be over the course of a year, fiscal year. So that is our major drivers for the operating budget.
What about, we have a different number on your slide versus what we have in the selectmen book. It's off by about 50,000.
Which line?
Our book has 4789. I think that's what you're looking at. Vic, and this is 4735. We'll take the lower one.
My apologies. I didn't, I must not have changed the top number. My fault. I'm back and forth. Yes. 4789 020.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So that's, that, you know what, that's the increase from the ask to put in the potential increase for the full-time raises.
Just to be clear, that's a typo
That's the
because
change.
the 2.85 is still correct and the 132,000 is correct, I believe. Yeah, okay, so
Yeah,
just.
so I did not change the top number. I thought that, I must have thought that was good.
Okay.
But the increase was the change in the, just adding that, the full-time salary line.
That happened at the Board of Selectmen level. They had come in with flat salaries and we asked both police and fire to add
Right,
2% because they're going into negotiations and that way.
have a placeholder.
Yeah.
Are you done with the operating?
Just the quick slide on the major drivers, and we consolidated lines. So if anyone had a question on why certain lines increased pretty high, with the direction of the budget director, we consolidated some of those. So I didn't have so many small lines. That's why a lot of them went up. We just moved stuff around, but there's also, we have some missing lines in there.
Could you just refresh my memory? Two questions. One, we're at 24 full-time now?
24 full-time firefighters.
In the
which-
budget.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what do we have last year? Do you remember? Was it?
Last year, we basically had 25 and a half. So we, based on 2 retirements that are happening right after July 1st, we hired 1 additional firefighter in the fall, and the second one is in the academy. Now, we just hired him in February to fill the vacancies that are projected in the summertime. So we had a full-time salary additional and a half of a full-time salary that we're paying for now.
Trick question.
Yep.
Do you remember what you had in 23?
As far as staffing,
Full-time?
24.
I'm asking in 23. You had 24 in 2023.
Yeah, we should have had 24. This is the first time we did something
Okay.
that actually put somebody in the academy before they left because of the retirement system that got put in place 3 years ago.
And volunteer numbers about the same over the last
Actually,
3
up.
years? Up.
Yeah, we got to, with a lot of probationary firefighters right now, but we're at 30 volunteer firefighters.
So if I've got this right, overtime is actually flat year to year. It's about $1,060,000. I added all the overtimes up, top to bottom. And that's about what it was last year. That's at least the revised budget was 1063, starting with salary overtime down to training overtime.
Correct. The only
That's flat year to year. That's what this adds up to as well.
closed, I did some drastic cuts and we cut down sick time because the average went down. HR and I worked out bringing the injury down because we had a placeholder there. It was never, I don't want to say never, a very small percentage was spent. So we brought that line down, which makes it look flat. Every year with the raises, it goes up the percentage of the firefighters raises, and vacations will go up because every year, every 5 years, they get additional vacation time that they'll have to use. So that'll increase until they max out at 16 years. Then the firefighters max out. So we have a lot of firefighters that are in that period where every couple of years someone's getting additional time that they have to take off. So that would increase the overtime, but it's close. I mean, the vacation, the holidays is probably right on. Everyone gets 13, and the overtime, the vacation time would be the only one that increases going forward.
Thank you.
Any other questions on operating?
Is there a substantive savings when, I guess, an older firefighter retires and a new one comes on? I would think there'd be some salary savings there.
Yeah, there's, they have basically, call it 5 years of steps. So they'll come in at a probationary rate while they're in school. And then every year, they will get a step increase. So it takes 5 years to get to top step firefighter, which also affects their overtime rate will be a lot less. So yes, there is savings as those first 5 years.
Okay, great, thanks.
Other questions on the operating budget?
And moving into this year's capital request, start with the bond request. We put in for 450,000 for our self-contained breathing apparatus replacement. We are at 17 years right now. Probably just past its life expectancy. Usually they'll look at 15 years. But last year we started getting a lot more repairs. It's amazing how you hit that year and it just starts happening. But yeah, so that's a must need. I put it in yellow because we did apply for a FEMA grant, which is SCBA is a high priority with the FEMA program, the AFG grant. So keep our fingers crossed. That would probably, if the grant is awarded, it would probably bring our cost share down to about 25% of my ask. So, because I can't buy technically it's a 10% match, but with the additional equipment that I would need to spare air packs, different software that we'd be able to see the members working and see what their air consumption is. That is stuff that's not covered by the grant. So my assumption would be 25% of that ask is what we would actually spend if we get awarded the grant. So we'll keep our fingers crossed as we move forward with that. I did have to move the pickup truck up 1 year. That was in FY27 in my last year's request. At the suggestion of Highway, there's not much pickup truck left under it. So it's rotting out faster than they expected. It was a plow truck for all these years. So a lot of sand, a lot of rot underneath the pickup. So with their guidance, they say try to move it up sooner than later. Just because of the deterioration of the truck itself.
It is 18 years old.
Yeah, it's old. Yes, thank you. Yes, it is.
Yeah, I called for it on one of the power line calls on Monday and it wouldn't start. So, and it's pretty much.
Yeah, we're
rusted to
chasing a
nothingness.
gremlin in the electrical system. So
Tiger, though, he could use that for something.
I didn't focus on this last time though. So this was actually a repurposed DPW truck that no.
No, in 2000, Nick, correct? I think it was 07, right? Is it
2007, yeah.
07 pickup truck was brand new for the fire department in 07.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there was another vehicle. I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah.
There was something that was repurposed.
We had a couple.
It was a plow truck or something.
Well, we have a plow on it. So it was originally purchased with a plow on it for our operations.
All right.
That might not happen this time, but it's just because of the wear on it. And the tax supported capital continue our gears on a 10-year cycle. You know, that 47,000 represents about 7 sets a year. This year will be a little more, a couple more just because of the volunteers. And the usual expenditures I have every year: radio replacement, batteries. These are the firefighters issued radios. So basic battery maintenance at a cost of usually one new radio a year. Our fire hose equipment tools, and so just regular maintenance that we have to do every year. As hose, it blows when it fails when we test it. So the replacement there. And then our ask for the security cameras down there at the bottom. Put the security cameras in the public places of the firehouse. It's the tax supported capital for FY26.
So let's just talk about capital for a minute. So we've been very tough on capital. We've got to cut our capital. And we have two, and you may not know this tonight, which is fine, but we do need to have this answer by, call it Thursday, Monday, or Tuesday. And two things. One, we have a list of a significant amount of budgeted, approved, but not spent capital. And you have $1.4 million of
On mine,
bonded,
fire
and
truck.
600 of tax. Do you have that whole list? Have you gone through that in terms of what's been
I
approved?
probably,
and-
I probably do not have it in front of me.
So what I need you to do is, we can't really approve anything, we're not approving anything tonight, obviously, we're going through this, but we will vote on this on next Thursday. And
I have my list right here. Yep.
so just clear the list between what's already been approved and funded but not spent and what you need. Because we really can't any longer have both things going on, and we have some things, again, I haven't gone through the details here, I don't have the dates on this in my, oh, yes, I do. In the list, but just check, some of these things are getting pretty old, although you may not have that much, I don't really see much for fire other than,
I think all my,
other
I
than,
think if anything, I got 24 hanging.
yeah,
um,
you have a fire truck.
Fire trucks
That doesn't
hanging.
count.
Yep.
That doesn't count. But anyway, and it's for you as well. I mean, we're going to go through the capital. If it's been approved and hasn't been spent, you have to understand where, why, and what's happening and what can happen, what can be then offset against new requests. That's the quiz question. I'm not sure it really applies to you. Maybe not you either. I have to look.
No, I only have the radios, which I just got.
The radios. So that's one topic, and we're doing that with everybody. The other topic is the tax supported. So last year we spent about 479,000. Josh, 479 last year. Oh. I actually have it in my little cheat sheet. We spent 384 last year of tax supported capital. The roll-up request is 1.7 million across the town, 5 times or 4 times, too much. So we're really gonna cull that back. Right now, we're talking about a $500,000 budget for the town to reduce the total of 1.2 million. So we either need to bond it or cut it. And so your must-haves are the important thing for us. And then we talked, I think Nick had a really good idea. Radio here, radio here, radio here, they're all $12,000. That's 3 or 4 radios, that's 50,000. You know what I'm saying? We have to think strategically about bundling and bonding where we can, or cutting. Okay, so not for tonight, but I guess the first question for you would be, are these all must-haves? And if they are, it's fine, it is what it is, but you have to tell us if there's anything that could be just cut from the list already.
The only thing is not committed as far as on this list for 26 would be water supply. We do not have a plan in place for that. As they come up, we put piping in and so on. So those, we don't have a set spot for water supply yet. So that's probably the one in the FY26 that I would not spend.
I'm not sure what that, tell us what that is.
Water supply, it's a line item that's been in well before I got here, and that's as people offer up a pond, if they want to, if they're rebuilding their house, they're going to drop a tank in the ground for us. We will provide the fittings. That's been, the fire marshal's office been doing that. So they'll provide the piping, all the plumbing for the water supply access.
Did we do this last year? Did we do any?
We haven't had, it was not
Oh, we
in
cut it.
last year. I've been doing it every other year.
Question for Josh, or for you guys, couldn't that be a contingency expense if they came to us in November and said, we're gonna do this thing, it's $4,000 for this one house somewhere, and we could do a transfer for a few thousand? So why would we ask the taxpayers for $10,000 that we don't know that we need to spend?
Bigger question is, why would the town even pay for that?
They're
I
doing
mean-
us a favor.
Well, it's gonna reduce their insurance. They may not
Yeah.
even be insurable if they can't get close to.
They
a hydrant.
usually don't put in a big enough tank for their insurance to go down. That's the
Ah, I see,
downside.
okay.
If they offer us up their pool
Yeah.
and we can plumb to their pool, they're not gonna get an insurance. They might get an insurance break. It doesn't help in some of the other, like for other people for insurance, but having that access, whatever your dollar savings is, having that easy access to water within the neighborhood is huge. So that's why we would always try to help the homeowner. That's what I came in when they've been doing, is trying to help that homeowner offset that cost of the install.
So the question is, where can we bundle and bond? And then maybe it's radios across all
Mhm.
emergency services. Don't know. We'll figure that out, right? Or, and if it's a must-have, it's a must-have, or not needed. So that.
Can I ask this question?
Sure.
For some of those, I look at the radios, that my old place of employment, that would have been operating. So I don't know if that's something.
That's what this is, operating. When it's tax supported, think of it as operating.
Still consider, all right, I guess I understand.
all
I
operating.
just see it in the capital. I'm thinking of it as the capital plan.
It's tax supported capital.
okay.
Taxpayer supported capital. We asked the taxpayers for all this money.
Understood.
We spent 350,000 last year. They were at, the whole list rolls up to 1.7 million. That's a
Whether
problem.
it's a line here or it was in my operating.
Still
Yeah,
operating.
okay.
Yep, still operating. It's exactly right.
Okay.
And we put an arbitrary threshold of 50,000 to say, we're not going to bond shovels. Ridiculous to run up your debt bonding little things. So having said that, though, it's just also another way to spend all other money. So we're just trying to put some sanity around it. So in any event, we asked the same thing for Board of Ed and everybody. We're going to have to talk, Tiger as well.
So I could go back and look at,
Yeah.
you know, where I am in 24 and
Do you have any approved and unspent money? But I don't think you, I don't really think you do.
there's definitely unspent money right now.
Well, the
because
fire truck, which is 1.2 million.
30,000.
Okay.
Fire truck's on order. They're building. Well, it's not, it's in line to get built.
A staff vehicle addition for 33,000.
Yeah, it's in the garage right now.
We've already, so this is spent.
That's spent.
Okay, so you only have the fire truck.
Let's hear the good news. It came in a lot less, but I still haven't equipped it with radios yet, but yes. So
Okay, okay.
47,000 of that's been spent already.
You get the point. And whatever could be done there would be great. Okay. What else did you want to, any other questions on capital, team?
The only last slide was the 5-year, the 5-year plan there of where we are. I know we had conversations on the liaison meeting of my ladder truck and tanker refurbishment replacement of having those two numbers in the 2 years in a row. We are looking at vendor consultants to look at the apparatus to see what the best course of action is. So I just wanted it on the eyes on it so you can see what's coming. And my thought is if down the road, if there's a value of the same vendor doing both projects, that's something we can talk about in the next 2 years. But I just wanted them both on that plan so that, you know, we're looking at the refurbishment and or possibly replacement, depending on what the consultants say.
Okay,
Can you, I'm gonna ask a out of the box question. You know, like PD has radios and you have radios in your tax supported capital. Can we bundle those together? So, you know, talking about your bundling purchases, and I don't know, like, if, you know.
They all come from the same vendor.
Right. I mean, you know,
5 radios. That mean, wouldn't that be the way to do it? I think the answer is yes, but we have to.
Put it on the bonded side versus the,
because yours isn't big enough, theirs isn't big enough, but the two of you together, it might be big enough.
'cause I know Motorola
Not
won't give a
50.
deal.
It's not 50 though, that's the only thing.
What's that?
10 years?
Oh, yeah, definitely a 10-year.
Good answer.
Yeah, the radio, a brand new radio will get 10 years, yeah. And that's kind of going back to, you know, when's the target? You know, as we buy new radios, we're buying them so they would go onto a new system if you went to a state system. So, you know, we know that a radio bought today is good if we change in 8 years, it'll go on it. So it'll have the capability.
Okay. Good. Anything else, team? Michael, Bob,
Nope. I'm
did you have
good.
anything that you want to cover?
Good.
Yeah.
Sir, anything else?
No, I'm good.
That's great.
I saw a
Thank you.
circle on there. I didn't know who did that.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Oh, sorry,
Wow, look at
that was
that.
me doing it, just focusing. I didn't know you guys could see it.
That's over 2 years, so it's the total.
No,
Total cost of
I
the
think it's
truck is
two-
3 million?
Two apparatus.
Two trucks.
Yeah. The apparati. Yeah, so this is, yeah, the.
Michael, you want to
the
cross out?
tanker in there also, or it got cut off and,
Yes, sorry. Easy.
tanker and the ladder. So we're seeing which one, where they are as far as, you know, refurb. Can we get them just fixed up, make them look nice again, do all the important stuff? Or does it need to be replaced? So
That 1.5 represents a refurbishment or a replacement?
honestly, if I, the way prices are right now, that is definitely, it's a little more for, it's a little high for refurbishment, but you're not gonna buy a new one for that much money, unfortunately. So that's the numbers that are starting to come in every year.
Oh, good to have it
So,
on the roadmap like
yeah.
you have. That's,
How much is a new truck? How much is a new truck tanker?
Ladder truck could be 1.8 1.9, you know, for what we use. The downside right now is that no one wants to hear this, but there's no truck on the market that's fitting in that firehouse. So that's why we want to catch, if this thing's able to get refurbed and we can get 20 more years out of it, you know, that's, yeah, there's no ladder truck that fits in our building on the market. So.
Oh, no, there's no more room in the back. Right? You can't do anything to that firehouse.
Just make a new one right there. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, there's not much we can do. And the building management.
Where's the ladder now? Is it upstairs or downstairs?
It's upstairs. Yeah, it's the only bay it fits in.
It was cut out.
Yeah. And we have weight restrictions, but yeah, there's.
So short up that floor to do that, right?
Yeah, that was about 10 years ago. Yeah.
Okay, guys.
There tonight. We won't go there. So.
Not today's, we're not crossing the bridge. We don't have to.
Yeah, all right. Thanks for the information.
All right, great job. Thank you. Thank you very much. We're doing great. And then you got a new building going.
Yeah.
Gonna be the Firehouse Deli. Gonna be the
No, I
Firehouse
said
Deli.
bump out the back.
That was a serious discussion about when I was on town council. That was a big deal. Needless to say, we didn't do it.
All right. How are you guys?
Good. How
Good
are you?
evening.
All right, we ready to go?
We're ready to go.
All right,
Thank you for putting this together.
welcome. So we will start our show with animal control. It's our pretty simple budget. For our animal control officer, they have some pretty varied calls that they go on throughout the year. So have some unique wildlife here in New Canaan. But his budget is pretty straightforward. It's mostly just salary. You can see the numbers where we were able to, I'm sorry. We consolidated some areas, some supplies, office supplies, postage. A lot of it was redundant with our operating budget, so we just took them out of the animal control budget. So you can see most of his, the budget there is for salary and benefits at a 5.29 decrease from last year. Any questions on the operating for that?
1,000 calls almost.
It's about, yeah.
3 a day,
Yeah.
almost. Crazy.
We'll jump over to the police department operating. Just some quick highlights for last year, close to 16,000 calls, all various kinds, from hazard calls, family disputes, burglaries, larcenies, motor vehicle stops, DUI arrests, alarm responses, and medical calls. We, as you're well aware, we had our 3 new SROs were approved last year. We finally got them into the schools this January. It took a little bit of a training, hiring and training process to get the 3 new employees on board, and then we were able to get our SROs into the schools. Also, as you're well aware, the construction project is ongoing. Bill Walbert here will give you an update in a few minutes, but I've got a few pictures of highlights, and these aren't even up to date. We've come a long way since some of these pictures. A lot of the paving is done. We're close to completion. Looking forward to moving in sometime in June. And there's some just quick snapshots of some of the exterior, interior of the project. It's going along very, very well. We're very pleased with the on there. And some of our community highlights, coffee with a cop, some of our officers reading in some of the schools, supporting our local food pantries and our SROs, working with the students for Safe Driving Week. There are our 3 new SROs that were approved last year. They're in our 3 elementary schools currently, and then we have our other officers that are at the high school and the middle school. So our operating summary is 8.063967 requests. It's a 4.93 increase from last year. Largely that's due to, as we said, as Albie said, the 2% salary increase that was put in as a placeholder for contract negotiations. Additionally, we've added back our full-time maintenance person because we've been in the temporary building. We haven't had that position for the past year and a half. That salary back in to our budget at 88,000, hoping that we're going to get the qualified person to operate a state-of-the-art building. Additionally, we moved some items that were in the capital budget over into our operating budget for service contracts that shouldn't have been in the capital in previous years. And I'll show some slides coming up, but the utility costs for the new building are an unknown. So we've took a guess at what they might be, but it's still to be determined what the operating utility costs will be at the new building once we move back in. So looking at our lines, some of the budget impacts, obviously full-time salaries, you can see the increases there. And our overtime, we are working continually to try to contain those and control those and keep them level. One highlight, you can see salaries training was reduced. The explanation for that is you'll see in our capital request, we are requesting new firearms, which we started the process last year. But with those comes considerable amount of training. Approximately 16 hours, 2 days worth of training for each officer. Because it's a one-time commitment, finance has asked us to put that into a special project account separate in the town's budget. So it was removed from our operating budget. So I don't want there to appear that we're cutting training. We still have that living somewhere else in the town's budget. It's just not existing here in our operating budget. As I said, some of the other impacts are our service contracts are continually increasing. Some of our vendors keep increasing the cost of the service contracts, but also the utilities are significantly increasing for the new building, where we're going to be with electricity, propane, fuel oil, and whatnot. So we were given these numbers by the building department. So we're hopeful that they're close to being on the mark, but we truly won't know until we get moved in. And the final line, you can see our total budget costs, like I said, a 4.93% increase from last year.
I know you estimated fuel and electricity, but those are such big jumps. Is that just, you don't know what you don't know? I mean, is the new building, is there any reason why it would be so much more expensive to?
I honestly got these numbers from Bill Osman, so I don't really know. I'm assuming that it was based on what we're paying currently is for the rental. I don't know. For 39 Locust, I don't know if there's why there's a cost difference, what we were obligated to pay at Locust versus what we're anticipated to pay at South Avenue when we move back.
Well, is a line item for electricity correct? The percentage growth doesn't look like it's growing 54%. The revised number is 104,000 in 25, and it's going down to 100,000 26. So that should be a decline in electricity off the revised full year 25 number.
It almost looks like.
I just heard from Tiger that Bill estimated that cost off of the town hall building, a similar size building.
Given that it's going to be going through all new equipment, and just because it's new equipment doesn't, and it says that it's an Energy Star efficient, doesn't mean that it's as, sometimes it costs more to run just because the building itself all the systems are a lot higher now, a lot more sophisticated. So he took off what was based on the town hall, what we saw from the town hall, and applied that to the police department, since there's similar sized buildings going forward.
But Tiger, isn't that
We are a 24/7 operation, so that's something that would differentiate us from the town hall. We operate.
but isn't that a decline in electricity? It's not a 54. Todd, I don't think that's a.
No, I
50
think, Michael, Josh, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's the adopted budget, not the revised number, because the revised number changed when they went to I'm assuming the temporary space. But the math, I believe, if I'm looking at this right, is off of the adopted column, Michael, not the revised 25.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, okay, I got it, because
54,000 to 100 is, I think, the 54% is what you're.
Right.
I mean, the reference we have is the police building before the renovation, right? So you have the same square footage roughly, and you go, okay, we paid X, Y, and Z in prior years. Now you have a more.
64. He's asking.
Equipment. So maybe it's less, but so there's buffer in there, I think.
This be your base year. So let's go to this.
Yeah, and I think, Mike, that's Tiger's answer, which is
Well,
new building, don't
The library was
come down.
able to come down, yeah.
And then, and with the rate increases.
The price was.
Increase in equipment, ammo, and weapons by 10%, growing to 44,000. Because if you compare it with 23, you're significantly over and you're double 22.
Right. Like I said, we're transitioning to the new firearms, so we need ammo and to conduct all that training. So it's a significant increase for the training required for the new firearms.
So is that just a one-time spike and you expect?
It should be, yeah.
Level out?
Yeah. It should level out.
On your voice data.
What
is
are the
that-
new, I'm just curious, what are the new firearms that what are we going from and to, and if you don't
So
mind.
we're going to, we typically found that a 10-year life cycle is best practice for us. Because we start to see reduction in dependency on the in reliability. Things start to break, and these are items that we don't want to fail in an emergency situation. So we're going from our SIG 40 caliber to a Smith & Wesson 9mm with a new sighting system. Traditionally, we use traditional iron sights, and these new handguns have optics, what we call optics on them. So they're much better for our marginal shooters to get better accuracy, better marksmanship, easier to handle for our smaller frame officers. So we've seen better results in marksmanship skills with our officers that received these last year. But they do require some considerable amount of training just to get everybody up to speed and used to using a new platform.
Do we trade in the old ones? Do we get some for those?
Yeah, we trade in, but unfortunately, they're not worth much at all.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Chris?
Yeah, on the voice data, is that the same as the emergency management folks were talking about? Is that like?
The Russ's Motorola contract? No, these are for our contracts with like Frontier and for our modems in the cars. So it's a different bucket.
So they don't, but they talk to one another, but they're not the same product.
The Russ's system is all of our emergency services. The Motorola covers all of our radio systems. So yes, they all speak to each other. Our voice and data is stuff that's specific to us. The equipment that we use for our terminals, our mobile data terminals to communicate over cellular.
Other questions?
One question. So when you purchase equipment, firearms, is there sort of a broader contract with the state police or the state? And I'm thinking about radios across all the different, yeah, is there a
discount? There's state contract pricing that, yeah, so that's what we base our purchases off of. Right.
Keep going.
Okay, moving on to capital. For bonded, we have our vehicle purchases and as I stated, our duty firearms. This is for 3 vehicles. To purchase 3 vehicles. If you recall in years past, we had a kind of a year where we were waiting for supply chain issues and we recovered and we got delivered 1 year, I think 7 or 8 new vehicles in 1 year. So that put us in good shape. Then last year, because we were in such good shape, we only needed 1 vehicle for our animal control officer. And then this is going to get us back on our regular cycle of cycling out vehicles, 3 each, 1 year for the next year. And to remind you that these are frontline vehicles that we use on our front line, and then we cycle them down to a secondary role within the department as they age. And as they continue to age out, we offer them up to other departments in town. If they're not useful to any other departments in town, that's when we'll trade them out. So we do try to squeeze out as much useful life out of these vehicles.
What's the standard vehicle that you are now purchasing?
Right now, it's the Chevy Tahoes. Last year, we found that those were cheaper and we could receive them quicker than the Ford
Yeah, you were
vehicles.
all Fords at one point.
We were all Fords, and Ford, especially during the supply chain issues, really limited their availability, not only for new vehicles, but for parts. We had some vehicles that were down for months waiting for simple parts, but because they just didn't have them. And at that time, we found that we could receive the Chevy Tahoes more affordably and quicker.
I see.
So that's
And
why we
you-
transitioned.
Is that an RFP bid process? How does that? go?
It's again, the state contract pricing, that the state contract pricing model that we go off of, yeah.
How's availability?
Pretty good,
Okay.
Yeah. right?
And do we put money down to secure them? How does that work? Same as,
It's generally, we pay on delivery when
Okay.
we take
Okay.
delivery of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's no backlog anymore of these.
Not really,
Not really.
not really, a little bit, but not like it was.
But then when you get them, you have to fit them out?
So we receive the bare bones vehicle. Usually they call it a police package, so it's
Yeah.
not something that you would buy as a consumer. Rubber floors and that sort of thing, and it's built so the equipment can be installed. And then we ship it off to a third-party installer that puts on the light bars and the radios and all the extra electrical equipment.
we took advantage of good pricing, I think, when we loaded up too. Didn't we? When we bought them, when we bought no more than our normal, I think there was better pricing.
we did, yeah.
Are we back to reasonable pricing, or doesn't look bad for 3?
No,
No, you're right. When we ordered these, switching from Ford to Chevy,
Right.
the savings allowed us to purchase an additional vehicle with the budgeted money.
Right.
This pricing is higher than when we purchased then, because that pricing would have.
That was COVID, well, maybe one more year. I think we
Yeah.
took advantage of
It has gone up
Yeah.
from what that point was, but there's still, this will still work as far as getting us those 3 vehicles.
Okay.
way cheaper than a fire truck.
And a few more
You
tons.
can buy 18 of your cars for a fire truck.
Right.
All right.
So the police vehicle is about 70 grand fully loaded, fully outfitted. right? That's what,
Probably give or take.
Pretty close.
About that, yeah,
213.
yeah, with everything.
Pretty close, yeah.
That's not a bad price.
That's not
actually.
too bad.
Want to talk about tax supported, same conversation, so.
Yeah, so we were just discussing back there. We heard you speaking to that, and we're gonna scrub these numbers down. There may be some things where we can, cut out 1 or 2 radios and really take a closer look.
Need them. I'm getting back to the finance team. You need 2, he needs 2, we need, 5, 5 of these are over, we could bond 5, I think, with a 10-year life, so. I think about it, you come, let us know.
Yeah, I know the tasers is a hard number that we have to stay at, but as far as the radios, we're gonna take a closer look at the bulletproof vests.
Okay.
Ensure that we have those dialed in as close and tight as possible, and same with the cameras, the in-car cameras, and make sure that we actually.
Okay, well, as you know, safety is always in the budget,
Yeah.
whatever you need, you gotta have, so don't fool around, but anything, if it's 1 extra, you can, whatever, you understand.
And for the past month or 2, we've been going through previous capital budgets and spending down anything that's been outstanding. So our numbers should be pretty tight
Okay.
on that side.
Okay. Anything else you want to cover? No?
I think that's it.
I think you covered all these points. Any questions? Really good summary.
One
Steve?
comment.
Yeah, sure.
Items like that, do the federal government subsidize that stuff?
Yeah, we do get some grant funding. It's usually 50%.
Whatever it is, it's always helpful. right?
Yes, yeah.
No, they do. They do. No, they do. There is a little.
Truck. It's a vehicle.
The police was 140. That's all you have left? Yep. Two.
When you guys write grants, is there one person in the department that's responsible for it, or is it do you go to like other people in town to help you, or how's that done?
Us with some grants, some of the bulletproof, like the bulletproof vest, that's pretty easy. It's just kind of resubmit the application online. So it's usually department specific. If a person has a specific knowledge to something, we'll have them submit the grant. But we've also worked with Greg Riley in town, and he's helped us quite a bit over the last couple of years. Good to have him back.
So the budgeted, approved, funded, not spent number. You do have some items. So Josh, make sure they have this list if you don't have it.
Yes.
There's some body cameras and some defib and a couple of the little things. So.
Yeah, we've been spending that out, and much of that is already encumbered or spent
Okay.
already
There you
and
go.
queued up to
Okay.
once we get delivery of them.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Thank you. We'll talk about the building.
Great, thank you.
Good evening. How are you? Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us. Before we get to the presentation, I always like to make 3 points. One, our safety record right now is perfect. No days lost, and of course that's incredibly important. We like to congratulate Turner for the great job, and the suppliers and their trades guys. So that's one. Two, want to thank the neighbors again for their patience, and they've really been great sports through the whole thing. The church is providing the parking, the Methodist Church across the street. And of course, the EMTs have found ways to make it work, if you will. So thank you, the EMTs, the other neighbors as well. And three, I'd like to pat this guy on the back and Tiger and the police department, because the police obviously spend a lot of time trying to plan for a new building while trying to run a police department in the temporary quarters. I don't know how they find time to do it all, but they've done a great job with it. They have not kept the building committee waiting. And Joe is an absolute pro and has done a great job making the building committee look good. So that's all I wanted to say before we got to the presentation.
All right. We'll run through. I'm Joe Zagorinsky, Senior Engineer in the Engineering Department. First, I'd like to thank the building committee and it's always amazing, all the volunteers that get involved in the police department. Running through just quickly, this is going to be old hat for a lot of you folks, but I see some new faces. So this is the rendering of the building. We were able to save the 1926 building, which is this whole section right here. I think everyone was very happy about that. And then in the back, we constructed a purpose-built addition, which has prisoner processing, jail cells, locker rooms, and 2 sally ports. It was very important for the police to have, these 2 sally ports. Drive-through sally ports are something that is, in modern policing, it's the new standard. So I'll go through some progress photos. And just kind of to go through, it will be just kind of what it looked like in September at the last update. And won't really talk to that slide, and then just go to what it looks like today. So as you can see, if you drove by the place today, the cupola has been rebuilt. The roof is complete. So it's a new roof. All the trim work has been completed and painted. What you don't really see here is there used to be a really big transformer and generator that lived in front of this building, and those have been relocated as part of this project. The binder course is down for the pavement, and the new town standard light poles have been installed. So we're pretty well wrapped up. This is the view looking from the schoolhouse apartments in September, and this is it today. Again, that's the addition of the building. You can see the cupola that's been restored. This is a canopy. This is a new canopy that will give coverage for 10 patrol cars. Moving on, this is from the EMS parking lot. You can see over here, this is where the addition is. Again, you don't see it here, but this location is where the cells are. You go into the Sally Port. There's prisoner processing, and everyone. It's a purpose-built from. It was a 1926 school that was made into a police station, and now it's a 1926 school that was design built addition. So it's actually a police station, functions in the back, and they function as they should. This is where we were in September, just kind of the level of finishes, and you can see that we've trimmed everything out. And this is kind of indicative of where we are in the rest of the building. The flooring's down. We're finishing up the trim work. The ceiling, the above ceiling inspections are complete. All the items are being commissioned. All the heating, the cooling, the lighting is being commissioned. These are the cells. So that's where we are with the cells. They're complete. And it's just a matter of, just some of the permanent lighting is being livened up as we speak. This was the 1926 stair tower as it's been updated. And then this is your main lobby. This is what most of the public will see. So it's been refreshed. You'd walk into the main lobby. You can't really see it from this angle, but you're centered up with dispatch. There'll be monitors on the wall that just kind of give you updates. And there's organized little cork board over here. And then there's 2 bathrooms, and you have access to the EOC. And then back this way, there's access to the big training room. And then you have records right there. So everything is, this is a secure lobby for.
And that's
for
the
town
final
people.
flooring. It's not something that's gonna cost us money to maintain too much.
And I lost connection. Oh. I lost connection, but that is it for the pictures.
Yep.
Give me 1 second. Let's see if it'll. That was weird. So we have to share again.
Does everybody have it on their iPads?
On your tablet.
Yeah, we have it on the tablet. We've got a we can keep going.
Yeah, just keep going. Right?
Yeah, we have our tablet.
If there's internet issue, is that what it is? 0 day?
Oh, wait. It's blinking.
There we go.
All right.
There we
All
go.
right. There we go. So as far as the schedule goes, we're in line with the original project timeline. We hit all the critical dates, and we are the project was originally scheduled to be finished in Thanksgiving of 2025, and that we're now scheduled to move in June of 2025.
We ain't paying rent in July. Let's put it that way.
So there's some schedule items left. So where the dispatch consoles are being installed in the next couple of weeks. Furniture is arriving the end of March. The building's interior fit out is being wrapped up in April. Turner will finish up the landscaping, paving, and striping mid-April into May. And then the dispatch is scheduled to go live from the new PD on June 3rd. So we've been in discussions with the 911 folks for months now, and we're scheduled for June 3rd cut over for 911 to be operating out of the new building. And 39 Locust lease ends on June 30th. So as far as the contingency update, we started off the project with $1.9 million in contingency. Our current projected contingency is $853,000 is what we have left. We're very confident that we're going to finish the project comfortably under budget. And I won't go into a lot of detail on the Turner report that was also attached, but if anyone has any questions regarding that, we have a building committee meeting the second and fourth Thursday of every month where we go through it in detail with all the
So our
appropriate
next meeting
parties.
is this Thursday.
Yes, 8 o'clock.
And your 853 left includes assumptions for expenses that we know are coming.
Yeah, there's a couple items that weren't on the Turner's list. So if you're looking, like it doesn't reconcile, doesn't tie directly to the Turner's list, it's because there's just a couple items that are known risks. So we put them in the log.
When you say under budget, you mean that I can treat a contingency on top of the budget. Are you concluding the contingency in the budget as part of your operating? Okay, so you're saying you'll leave a cushion of that contingency left.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, well, that's not exactly the same thing. Okay. All right. How about the budget? You're obviously
so we're right.
Budget and 2 million in contingency. You're going to use $1 million.
$1 budget we had for Turner is
Yes.
actually going to turn out to be 21-ish.
21, yeah.
Yeah, that's the million. Okay.
Yeah. Of unforeseen things which basically had to do with things you would expect to happen when you renovate a building from the 20s, right? The drawing didn't reflect reality. And what you thought was behind a wall wasn't really behind that wall.
Yeah.
A lot of things like that. We worked hard to get the gym in the basement to have a better ceiling height. So we worked hard on that. So those were some of the biggest expenses.
Well, when you're undergoing a major renovation of a building that's almost 100 years old, you put in 15% contingency, and so far we've spent 3.6%. So we are ahead. We are below the $29 million budget, and we expect to finish the project somewhere in the order of magnitude of $800,000 under the $29 million budget.
So hang on, if I'm following you, 15% on 20, that's 3.
There's construction to Turner's.
Yeah, they have contingency. No.
Well, no,
That's separate from this, but would that be included in the 15% to Turner?
No, with the 15%, we didn't start with 15% contingency. We started with $1.9 million.
Okay.
In contingency.
So
I'm saying is a typical person in the world that has starts a construction project, you would add 15%.
And the 29, of course, includes the
100
rent we
building.
paid for Locust Street and things like that. So the construction budget really was much less. Was of course, 20, was for pure construction without soft costs.
Well, again, way ahead of schedule and on or under budget is a home run. That's a great job. I don't mean to be sounding critical, but we had with the conversation we had back in September was you'd gotten through the tricky phases where you really thought, okay, what's the soil going to do? What's this going to happen? All that. Once you got through that, you thought the risk of using the contingency is going very low. And that's what happened, is what you're saying, basically. So we've already spent the $800,000 that you haven't spent. So
we do the fire hall apparently.
we need
I'm not
to
signing up for that
knock the
building
wall
project,
out of
by the
the firehouse apparently. But anyway, okay, no, I mean it's kudos to all of you and the building committee and everybody. That's really a good story so far.
stuff. And from a town perspective, I think the biggest issue when we open it will be to educate the public on the new traffic patterns, right? That they're going to be going out what they used to think was the in. And so we'll have a lot of signage. We're going to work hard to make sure that the first few months go well.
One question. So, for Turner did Design for Freedom with the library, and I was under the impression that they were gonna do Design for Freedom with the police station.
They
Is
did.
that- They did.
They did. They did the education campaign with all the subcontractors. They did it as, they checked a few of the submittals. They did the same process they did with the library.
How did it go? Was there any feedback from that or did any?
Feedback, I mean, they still have challenges getting, the supply chain data that's requested. But I think it was successful in the fact that it was really a making everyone aware that there is a problem with, the Design for Freedom. There is a problem with the slave labor in other countries. So there is some targeted items that Turner made sure that were sourced locally. And they had the conversation with all the subcontractors and it brought awareness to the situation. And they basically, again, they followed what they did at the library and they had a similar, there's not a lot of really good data, but there was a lot of good conversations and they made sure that everyone was aware that the program was in existence and that's it.
Were there any incremental costs associated with Design for Freedom that you're aware of?
I mean, there was a little more paperwork and a little more, nothing that they passed on to us. It was probably a little more of a headache for the Turner guys in the trailer, but they didn't pass on that cost to us.
Your design, you weren't striving for any kind of environmental level, right? You weren't like.
Well, we are.
We didn't go for any LEED certification
Any
or
LEED
anything like that.
certifications or.
We did not. We did do an energy model and we are going to get a small rebate back from from Eversource at some point. But that's the extent. We didn't go and track and it's become that you have to, pay lots of fees and do a lot of additional paperwork in order to get those.
And we never contemplated solar or anything like that on this building.
The project is solar. The
Right.
project is solar ready. So there's conduits to the back canopy. And it was thought that we would get a power purchase agreement in place to do the solar.
So we're ready to go with solar when the town decides to move something like that forward.
Okay, good.
Could I ask, Michael, would you mind or Nick, any your thoughts and reactions? You guys have been part of this from the beginning.
I'm
Comments, yeah.
I'm pleased. I mean, the guys, like you said, ahead of schedule, under budget or on budget. Contingency 50% roughly left. I mean, it's going well. I've visited the site a few times, and it's great. It's great. I'm sure the guys are excited moving back in June.
Yep. Same thing. I agree with Nick. It's there's been no surprises, a lot of savings on contingency. Great job by the team. And I actually was back in Connecticut to visit the site Thursday morning.
Anything else? Joe?
The question of electricity and power came up earlier, right?
Yes.
Any thoughts on efficiency of the building now versus?
So it's a tough one, right? So the building is efficient. The challenge with bringing an old building, it did not have any air circulation in it. So you didn't have a healthy building and you didn't bring 20% outside air in at all times that you have to heat and cool. So although it is efficient and it meets all the requirements, energy requirements, unfortunately you are tempering all that additional air, that fresh air that the police are going to enjoy so much.
Well, not unfortunately, that's a good thing. But it's not, it comes with
But
it.
it does drive up the cost. I mean, when you think about it, back the windows were shut and you had a boiler that would just throw heat into the building.
Yeah.
Now you have a boiler that heats the building and you also have fresh air going to all the spaces. So it makes it a healthy building, but that comes at a cost.
The only other comment I would say is I talked to the chief, it sounds like with this new building, the morale, the police department will be great, right? It'll be a great place for them to go, to feel like they've got a home, like a special place. And I think that's just good for the whole community to have a police department with a even greater, higher morale standard.
They will miss the sewer flies. Yeah, we're gonna bring some in. Thinking about bringing some in.
Very good. Okay, any other questions? Great, thank you. Great job. Great update. We'll talk again in, I guess, May. You said June we're go live here, so, okay. Okay, good.
Sure, something to go wrong.
Thank you all.
Yeah, you can see the way construction.
That's what I thought.
703.
Yeah. Okay, Josh, are we doing an update? Yeah. Should be on your tablets.
Share this real quick.
One comment I thought, and I took away from the Moody's call was he said, and I really think, I mean, it didn't feel like it was just part of the script. He said, thank you for this presentation. It's transparency and it's thoroughness. And it was that. It was very transparent. I mean, we put everything out on the piece of paper, and it was really, I thought, obviously well pulled together, and it was a good story. But he had every answer he might have ever, to any question he might have asked right there in the data. It was really, really good. So that made for, I thought, good discussion. So congrats again.
All right, hi everyone. So in front of you and on the screens is kind of a quick financial update as of the end of January of this year. So it's a little past the 50% mark of the year. And we're kind of seeing things pick up in spring, and the second tranche of property taxes is coming in. So starting with the overall revenues, we're at 95.9%, 6.9 million shy of the 169.9 budget. Tax collections are at 96.9%. I can say a mild spoiler. I ran this report actually a couple days ago, and it's closer to 99.3% of what was budgeted. So that's slowly ticking up as the stragglers are coming in with the second tranche of collections. Building
99 of what was budgeted.
Correct.
Not 99%. Okay, so we still have that to get. Okay, gotcha.
There. Building permits is also ticking up. That's at 98.5%, or 387 of the, 837 of the 850,000 that was budgeted, about 275 over what was where we were at last year.
Oh, that feels like a beat.
Yeah.
If we're there already.
It's likely due to kind of that large one-off at Burtis and Cherry, but we're obviously coming into April and the spring months when that picks up normally anyway. Similarly with conveyance fees, that's at 90.1% of what was budgeted, the 1.3 of 1.5 million, plus about 350,000 from last year, also due to that kind of one-off Riverwood. And again, April to June are pretty strong months normally. So we'll hopefully see that tick up a bit. Parking is also doing well at 93%, 818 of the 876. Keeping in mind, we do transfer some money at the end of the year to the parking fund. So that will bring that number slightly down. So hopefully we'll see meters and tickets and so on pick up and kind of offset some of that. Interest on investments, we're at 63.8%, or 1.27 of the 2 million budgeted, about over 400 from last year. Tipping fees are at 57% of what was budgeted, which, you know, we're at about 58% of the year, so that it seems pretty good. I know there's a couple checks on the way for some of those that'll tip it past that point, which is not a bad thing. That's pretty much it. Any questions on the
Hey,
revenue?
Josh, one question. We don't compare the percentage year to year. So the dollars and all the rest of that. But for example, maybe including or excluding the tax collection number, 95.9 seems a click high for February. In terms of the
95,
amount of revenue, total revenues.
95.9. Oh, like compared to
What was it?
last
Was it 88? Was it 93? Do you
I
remember?
I can tell you that, but it'll take a second.
Oh, you know what? It's okay. I don't want to just blow you off course.
And
here.
it is pretty close to where we were at.
It
I
was,
do
okay.
compare that, yeah.
Okay. All right.
And any other questions on the revenue side? So the expenditure side is at 50.5% of what was budgeted for this current year. And that I do check year over year because the overall changes, and we're pretty much right on the money with that one.
Okay.
I think it was 51 even or something like that last year. And yeah, we had the major storm that we're keeping an eye on and other contingencies like that. And
We'll probably at the next, the next regular meeting outside of the budget, we'll probably have another contingency transfer for the most latest storm. That's probably gonna, I think it's in the realm of about 70,000 for OT. So that last couple, so that is taking
All
down our
Saturday,
contingency.
Sunday
Saturday,
storms.
Sunday, yeah.
They're all
So
overnight,
really getting
Saturday,
full
Sunday
down.
storms, every one of them.
So that'll.
As
kinda
much as
wipe
we're
out.
having to pay, those guys are not sleeping either.
Yeah,
So
no,
there's
like
like,
they're doing a good
they're,
job.
they're not sleeping, yeah.
So that'll wipe out contingency.
Well, that meeting, Tucker, will be probably next Thursday. Yeah, because we'll finish up the budget. We don't have another meeting after that in March. So that would be when we'd want to go, if you have it then. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, we should have then.
Yeah,
remember
good.
what that is.
Okay. yeah, because we have meeting Thursday to clean everything up, public hearing Tuesday, and some housekeeping things. We'll do capital and make sure we're scrubbed. Then we'll finalize it on Thursday, vote on it to send it to town council. But that can be I'll call that a regular meeting. You okay with that? Yeah, and that will be the one where we would do this update. Okay.
And that's all I have for you.
Any questions for, I mean, it sounds, looks good. Looks very good. Anything on the tax sale?
Yeah.
Sold or paid or sold? Paid, okay. Okay. Well, they'll all get resolved, I think, one way or the other, come April. Any other items? I think that's it. We'll call it a wrap. Great job by everybody. Appreciate it. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Chris, second?
Doesn't anybody want to stay?
James, all in favor? I know, all in favor? Aye, opposed? None. Okay. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Bob.